you trying to figure out when your kid could get started with their workout program, how young is too young, what type of programming should they do for exercise routine, let's talk about it. So before I go any further, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. Alright, so with youth working out, like I said, I pretty much started in the industry training and helping as a strength and conditioning coach with a high school football team, and definitely a experience worth having. Definitely taught me a lot of different lessons. But let's look at when is too young, or is it too young for someone to start. There is a long running, I thought it was done for type thought process, but there's a long running thought that it was bad for any youth to do some form of strength training program who was pretty much below the age of 17 or 18. While they were still in development, their body's growing. I thought it was done for, but I remember coming across people. I actually had a boss who believed it, and I remember having the bringing up statistics and studies that showed otherwise. So if you're freaking out, so I do remember being a strength conditioning coach, having parents come up saying the kids, and thankfully normally it was the head coach that fielded the questions, but or the concerns. But no, it's not a problem for your youth, even if they're still going through their growth spurts. It's not going to detriment their growth plates or anything like that. It's not a bad thing in most cases. I'm going to tell you the study that it came from and then shed some light on it. So there was a study done years and years ago, specifically on children in pretty much that were being abused in a working environment. Again, children in the labor force in mines. So they were in, if I remember correctly, it was coal mines, specifically in, I can't remember the country, but anyway. So needless to say that it stunted their growth, and it wasn't because of the labor per se specifically. It was all the combined things that were all the different elements. So they were in mines with little to no sunlight access. Obviously in a mine you have no sunlight, but little to no access to sunlight because they were just, again, forced to do this child labor. Malnourished, so two already big compounding problems for development and growth for a child. Again, more likely malnourished. They also probably did not have much hydration as well. And those conditions, your body's just not going to do well. It would stunt a growth because the ability to develop. If anyone's had a teenager, they'll know that they seem to, especially males, they seem to eat yourself out of a freaking house because because they're growing, they're eating so much daggone food, it seems, at the time, because they uptake in the need of food. As well as the sunlight amount, the fact that how effective and beneficial that it is to get natural light to your body. Also, we know a lot of factors of being in the dark tend to be a negative to signal to the brain, where especially if you're there all the time, making you feel like, okay, because back in the day, anytime you were left in the cave or left in the dark, typically it was because you were sick or not doing well, to where if you went out, you'd probably be the weak link that was attacked first. So these different factors, and of course there's several factors that factored into why they didn't have the normal growth. People would use that study horribly wrong, because clearly it had nothing to do with strength training at all. I mean, yes, they were lifting heavy loads in the tunnel, but again, all the other factors were the problem. We now have information on children or youth who do sports like powerlifting to Olympic weightlifting and their youth, and no problem to their growth spurt. And then of course you have different sports that have always put on some form of resistance type training, whether that was body weight to using other pieces of equipment like gymnastics, various, of course, different martial arts would have different strengthening exercises conducted for youth. So there's a lot of information that opposes that argument. Of course, as well, you have different sports teams that use it. Heck, like I said, I started with strength and conditioning. It definitely did not stunt that growth. And a lot of the reasoning behind this is because when they're properly taught proper form, proper mechanics, and body awareness, one, you're setting them up for better success, because in our youth, our neuroplasticity of our brain, our ability, or I should say your brain's ability to learn, is much better at when you're young to learning a skill. So if you teach it like a skill, you're going to have a greater chance of learning it, keeping it as they get older. Another part to the factor of why it would be totally fine for youth to do strength training, other than, like I just said, the learning ability at that age, is the fact that they're not going to lift weight that would harm them. Their inability to do so, their muscles cannot handle that kind of load. You're not going to see someone who's never lifted before, who's a youth, who's 10 years old, lifting 500 pounds. It's not going to happen because they haven't lifted before. So you're not going to have that problem. And as they get stronger, because someone will be like, well, even 200 pounds. Well, as they get stronger, they're building the ability, they're strengthening their tendons, they're strengthening their ligaments, they're strengthening their muscles and their bones to be able to handle that type of load. So it wouldn't be a problem because they're slowly going to get to that strength. So when it comes to the age, like, you didn't answer the question, Daniel. When it comes to the age, there's not really a wrong answer here, besides obviously handing an individual who hasn't walked yet. You're not going to have a 1 or 2-year-old doing it. There's not really like an age that would be inappropriate per se, unless, of course, if you want to be pedantic and say a toddler, just because, again, they need to learn the normal skills of walking and moving around. But starting them young and starting them with basic movements and teaching them skills is going to be very useful. So here are some factors and ways to go about it for youth in strength training. So number one would be, no matter what age you start the child at, the biggest key is that they need to have someone who is watching them, of course, like teaching them, of course, the proper movement. So that's definitely a number one. Number two, I would kind of say this is actually would probably go hand in hand with number one is learning from watching. Youth, as we know, with any kid, they pick up on everything, right? Everything the parents do, every everything that you think they're not going to pay attention to. The words you use, the manner you do things, the tone you use, everything, right? So the same is if you want to lead by example, being the parent who cares about their health, it doesn't matter. I've seen individuals who, no matter if they were unhealthy before, if the parent makes the choice to change their own health and improve their own health, it will have an immense benefit to the child, because they're going to see what their parent is doing and will want to, it will be a higher chance that child will go on and make healthier choices, because they're going to want to follow. Now, when it comes to the next piece, is best bet is to start with body weight exercises. Starting with body weight exercises will teach a child how to have body awareness, to understand how certain muscles feel and everything, learn motor control, all these different things that will be useful for someone developing anyway. So body weight exercises, you can think calisthenic exercise, you can think suspension trainer exercises that will help teach body movement and body awareness. And then of course you can progress to other forms of strength training. And then number 4 would be, like I've said earlier, teaching it as a skill. Because then if they focus on making it a skill, they won't get lost in the idea of like, how much weight can I do at that young age? Now, of course, they can get stronger, but if they focus it as a skill, they will improve that skill, and that will be really important down the road. Especially when their brain, again, the neuroplasticity of their brain, their ability to pick up on those things much better at that age. And then I would say finally number 5 would be to find something form of training that they can enjoy. They can have fun. Make it fun. You can make strength training enjoyable for sure for a child, especially if you make it about like the skill and then improving themselves and not really getting like all over top if they somehow didn't perform the deadlift properly one time. I remember a video that was posted by Dr. Layne Norton, and it was of his daughter just doing some deadlifts, right? And someone in the comments decided to critique her form. Like, that was fun. And I liked his response. I don't fully remember all the words he said, but I do agree the fact that he could have sat there and critiqued everything she did wrong and fixed it right then and there, and it ran a higher chance of making it no longer fun and effective. Or you could just teach her basics, get her into the position, have her lift it, and then let her enjoy the fact she was getting a lift with her dad. That's more fun for a kid. They're going to stick with that a lot further. So think about those things when you go into trying to apply strength training to youth. So those 5 items are definitely very useful for youth to do it, because considering our current environment where we have learning that there's higher rates of obesity sooner happening in youth, and if you can hit the ground running a lot sooner, you can have a higher chance of preventing that in the future for the children, and a better chance of them living a more quality life and enjoying exercise and finding ways to better themselves, and of course all the life lessons that exercise teaches anyway, with learning how to deal with struggle. Until next time.